Situated in the American grain belt, Kansas was one of the first states to enforce prohibition as early as 1882, closing as many as 93 breweries there to supply the heavily German population. Kansas finally repealed prohibition in 1948, and its once great brewing tradition has only recently started to revive. This trek takes us to 3 brewpubs in Kansas helping to rebuild that tradition: in Manhattan, Topeka, and Lawrence. Little Apple Brewing is the first brewery in Manhattan in 100 years. You've been brewing here for how long?
I've been working here for a year, but I was the assistant brewer for about 6 months, and they fired me in December. And then the owners fired everybody, and the owners brought me back to be the head brewer now.
All right. Are you from Colorado or just? Oh, okay.
My wife got me the shirt when she was out that way. Jump up, have a look.
All right. Oh, these are hot.
Oh yeah.
What you brewing in here?
Old man.
This is
Custer's Gold.
Custer's Gold, and it looks like you're just starting the boil.
Is it boiling yet?
It's kind of it's starting to like agitate. So.
Okay, you better let me back up there and have a look.
All right.
Sitting barrels passing my fermenters and my serving tanks. This is very much a second-rate system amongst second-rate systems. The guys who had it originally budgeted about $200,000 to get a nice setup, and then one of their guys who was handling the money told the consultant to bring him in for under 100 grand. So
really cut down, huh?
there's not even nameplates on this stuff saying who made it.
Yeah. The Apple Brewing Company in Manhattan, and what are you working on there?
Say what?
What beer are you working on?
It's Custer's Gold, just a light blonde ale.
And what's the starting gravity on that?
Ooh, starting gravity is about 9.6, I think, in Plato. Be about close to 1040 on a specific gravity scale. And it finishes off at about 3 to 4 in Plato, which comes back to about 12 in specific gravity.
So it's a golden ale style? Is it highly hopped or anything? Or?
No, it's fairly lightly hopped. Use a bit of Tettnang and a little Herzbrucker in it. It's about the only hops I put in this one. This is the beer I make to try and gain crossover customers from Bud Miller Coors.
Is it your most popular beer that you brew here?
No, I think the most popular would be our wheat or our red, or the India Pale Ale, which we're out of today. But
oh, that's too bad, because that's one of my favorite styles, is the IPA. The red, is the red highly hopped, or has it just got some more Cristal in it, or what separates it?
The red's very highly hopped. Cascade, Chinook, Cluster, tiny bit of Tet, and I think that about covers it.
Okay, so I'm drinking your stout, and it says it has what, like something like 10 grains or something in it, or I can't remember the description, but could you describe it for me?
We think it falls more in the style guidelines of a robust, a stout. It'd be a foreign style stout. I'm running 2-row, of course some roasted barley, flaked barley, some special B, and I think we've got some caramel 60 in it. I'd have to go check it out to be specifically sure.
Well, you started out homebrewing, right?
Yeah,
And that was in Georgia, or when you moved here, or?
Started out in Tallahassee, Florida. A friend of mine, Chris Reed, he got Papazian's book, New Complete Joy.
Right.
And we'd go over and watch football games at his house. And one time I was over there and he was doing some bottling, and came back the next time to watch him do a brew and said, hell, if he can do it, I can. So started homebrewing. Then joined a club, the North Florida Brewers League in Tallahassee, and learned more there in my first meeting than I had in the previous 6 months. So then I got really hooked. Moved to Savannah, Georgia. At the time, it was still illegal to brew there. We had to brew under getting our stuff shipped in from Tennessee and Florida, plain brown wrapper type deal. And then in, I think it was June of '93, they changed the law in Georgia, legalizing home brewing. And I set up the first homebrew shop in Savannah, Georgia, at the Mill Bakery, Eatery, and Brewery that's there, and set up the first homebrew club in Savannah, Georgia. And then about 6-7 months later, my wife got an opportunity to come out here, so off we came, and now I'm brewing. It's like my assistant says, you can tell you've gone a long way when your airlocks are bigger than the size of your standard batches in homebrewing.
That's right, that's right. Well, I noticed, you have a nice variety of styles. I noticed in your one of your beers, I think it's the red, you have some Belgian malts.
We use pretty much exclusively Schreier's products. The 2-rows of domestic malt, but pretty much everything else we use is De Wolf Cassin Belgian malts. We use some Briess products, notably their flake barley. Give a little head retention to our products. That's an unavailable product from Schreier, so we get that from Briess. And we have been in the past getting wheat grist from Briess, because Briess will do that for you, and I don't want to go through the headaches of changing my settings on my mill every time I do a wheat or something that's got 50 pounds of wheat in it. But I'm thinking about changing that and just running the wheat straight through it without any adjustment. I'll give it a go, see how it goes, but right now I'm still sitting on about 400 pounds of wheat from Briess, so I'll use that. But all the caramel malts I get, I would say that I think that they're domestic. But my roast barley, my aromatics biscuits, was using De Wolf Cassin's pale ale malts from my IPA, but I've gone back to 2-row, trying to get rid of some chill haze problems I've been having with that. Beyond that, we're pretty much, I'm trying to stick with Schreier and De Wolf Cassin's malts. I'm trying to get all my stuff out of one place at one time.
Do you have a favorite beer you like to brew, or something you'd like to try in the future that you want to experiment with?
I like the pale ale the best. It's the biggest mash. We use for 7 barrels about 575 pounds of malt. With a 10-barrel hot liquor tank, I have to put about 6 barrels into my ton, then add another barrel of cold water to my hot liquor tank from my cold liquor tank to bring my total volume up to about 11, because it's such a heavy mash. I just don't have enough water otherwise. And that one has about, I think it's 11 pounds of hops in it before we hit the fermenter. Once we go past the fermenter into conditioning, I put in 4 pounds of East Kent Goldings pellets into the dry hop. So we're sitting on about 15 pounds of hops in my IPA, which is easily 2 to 3 times my heftiest of any other style.
That's really nice. Well, I wish you had something to try, but like I say, it's my favorite style, and yeah, I really like the heavy hopped beers too. So, well, that's a great story, and I'm sure it'll inspire other home brewers that you never know what can happen. And it seems you look like you're enjoying yourself here. So I'll let you get back to your job, and thanks a lot for giving us the time. And by the way, this place opened and closed many times, or once. But for a 2-month-old brew pub, this beer is really, really excellent. Shows that you have a lot of experience.
Thanks. Appreciate it. But they say an apple a day keeps a doctor away. 5 apples a day should keep 5 doctors away. We're at Little Apple Brewing here in Manhattan, Kansas. And let's do a quick review of their 5 beers, or 6 beers that they currently have on tap. Unfortunately, their IPA wasn't available for tasting. Their wheat is in the style of Berliner Weiss, and does have that slightly acidic Berliner quality, which locals might want a little bit of lemon in to help offset that. It's a hard style to do. Their gold beer is a standard light ale, good for people who aren't used to dark beers. They also have a jalapeno beer, which is actually very nice. A lot of hotness in the aftertaste, but it doesn't burn your nose hairs, so that's pretty good. Their stout is very nice in the foreign export style. Slightly higher gravity, a little bit more alcohol, very smooth, not too bitter. Very nice beer, one of their best beers. I really like the porter because it's really the style of porter. There's 2 styles of porter I really like. I like the Northwest style, which is really kind of sweet and heavy. And then I also really started to like the dry porter style, which I think this is more in that vein. Sort of like maybe it's the Sierra Nevada porter. It's got a nice hop bite and real nice dark kind of a black patent malt flavor. And finally, my favorite pale is there actually not a pale, but it's a red ale. That's my favorite beer. Lots of hops. The sweetness of the red beer offsets the hop bitterness. Maybe it's could be some Chinook, some real strong hops in there. It says it has like 4 varieties. So my favorite beer and highly recommended.
Little Apple Brewing has a big selection of beers, but no apple cider. The only brewery in Topeka to survive Prohibition was turned into a vinegar plant. Blind Tiger Brewing offers a much more palatable brew.
We have a wheat and an unfiltered wheat, and those both are kind of light in color. The unfiltered one's just cloudy, and it tastes a little bit different than the filtered kind. And then we have an amber ale and a pale ale, and the pale is our strongest beer. It's like 6% alcohol. And then we have porter, which is really dark, but it kind of tastes like coffee. They're all really good. Can I get you one?
Let me start out with the pale ale.
Pale ale?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Is it well hopped? Does it have some bitterness to it?
Yes,
Yeah?
it does.
Okay.
Do you want 12 or 16 ounce?
Give me a pint.
Okay. What about 2?
I'll just have like Pepsi with very little ice in it.
Okay.
It's in action. Did you brew somewhere else before this?
I was a home brewer for 14 years.
Uh-huh.
And then, I went through the whole route to AHA, National Beer Judge Certification Program, certified beer judge with the national program. Judged throughout the country. Had the honor of judging a national competition one time.
Wow.
Never been to Hawaii to judge though.
Well, we just started contests and a judging program there, so sometime soon.
Also, I was instrumental in putting together the local home brew club here in Topeka.
Uh-huh.
And I had a full-time good job, high pay, easy hours. And and took this job because somebody just paid me for my hobby now.
Well, how long have you been working on getting used to the big batches?
Oh, you know, I guess, you know, I was following the brew pubs and that industry for the last 4 or 5 years. Been wanting to open up something about 5 years ago, just didn't have the money to do it. And then when these investors got together, they called me up and they asked me if I wanted to brew beer. I said, sure.
Hey, that's great.
And there's not much of a transition, really, you know, because I was an advanced brewer, all grain, you know, mashing process,
Right.
molds. So to go from the 5-gallon batch, of course, I graduated 10-gallon batches and 20-gallon batches. To go from that to here was just learning the equipment.
And using your own recipes, or?
Some of my own amber ale is my own recipe. The pale ale is a modification of other recipes. I brewed all these as pilot brews, you know, as a home brewer, and made some adjustments to scale up. And we're continually making adjustments. I don't know, when you taste our wheat beer, you'll find it's a little bit hoppy. And we're trying to brew a real light beer for the Bud Light drinkers, Coors Light drinkers.
And you have a filtered and an unfiltered wheat, is that right?
Yes. Half the bison, and we have a filtered wheat beer. Actually, it's just, you know, you being a home brewer, it's really not a wheat beer, it's a cold.
Oh, really?
It's really a cold style.
Oh, okay.
And we'll enter that as such in the Great American Beer Festival.
Oh, great, great.
Now, I'm going to get a card.
This is rather unique where,
I have never seen another brew pub where our work is out in public dining.
yeah. But hey, I think that's a great idea. I mean, you know,
Chris, I was going to tell you,
could probably do the messy stuff, you know, at the low times.
Mike can give you a general tour of the facilities if you need any technical information.
Okay.
Or, you know, Mike had more about how he did and stuff like that.
Great.
Feel free to talk to us. We're a little busy right now.
Okay.
We're setting up the CIP things, and we got to do that before we get an evening crowd in here because we use a caustic.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah. This is the largest fermenter in Kansas.
Really?
In fact, we're the largest brewery in Kansas.
Wow.
That's 1,750 gallons.
Ooh.
54 barrel.
So, what's it like brewing so close to the clientele? Is it because I would think it's kind of exciting, you know?
Is it exciting?
Yeah.
Actually, when we go through the brewing process, we're kind of separated because we have the glass out there. But
Oh, okay.
when we're working around the fermenters, quarters are pretty tight. There's only about 3 feet in there between the fermenters
And I'm drinking your pale right now, and it has a lot of hop bitterness in the flavor, and kind of a sweet aftertaste, and not much hop aroma. What hops are you using, and how do you bitter it?
A lot of Cascade. We haven't really started dry hopping. That's one thing we want to try.
That'll add to the aroma a bit when you do that.
Exactly. It doesn't have a whole lot of aroma hops in it right now, but once we start dry hopping, we'll add some aroma, and it should turn out real nice. We're trying to get it somewhere in the line, I think, like a Liberty Pale Ale or maybe Sierra Nevada. I'm a real hop head.
Yeah. Well, so am I, and this is definitely you know, a great beer in that range.
So basically, the firm cap does the job. We did forget to put it in one batch, and it foamed way over, and the 5-gallon batch just went everywhere, all over the floor down there.
Well, that would be my nightmare if I was a brewer here, that's for sure. So, I'm going to try your porter, and this place is really nice, and I really wish you continued success here.
Thank you. Maybe if we make it out to Hawaii, we can hook up with you guys and go to some brew pubs.
Blind Tiger is one of the newest breweries in Kansas. The first brewery to open in Kansas since Prohibition was the ironically named Free State Brewing in Lawrence, which opened in 1989.
So Steve, how long have you been brewing here at Free State in Lawrence, Kansas?
I've been here since we opened, which was just over 6 years ago. We've been we opened up here with a 14-barrel system, 3 fermenters, and added on a 4th just about as soon as we opened. Since I think most other places that open up as brew pubs, we discovered very rapidly that we were doing more business than we really anticipated, and we've been kind of growing into it ever since.
Well, Kansas has seen a recent boom in brew pubs, and so you're kind of like one of the veterans here in the area as far as brew pubs go, yeah?
Oh yeah, well, the owner here, Chuck Magrill, was the one that got the legislation passed to allow this. We're actually the first legal brewery in the state of Kansas since 1880. Kansas, being the progressive state that it is, enacted prohibition before anyone else in 1880. At that time, there was a thriving brewing community here. Kansas was settled in large part by a lot of Germans, and they brought their old world brewing heritage with them. And there were 113 or 114 different small breweries in Kansas at that time, which, if you know anything about the history of this kind of area, 113 or 114 breweries was a pretty big per capita brewing population, and a lot of just about every small town had a brewery of some sort. The Lawrence had one fairly large one and one fairly small one. Leavenworth, not too far from here, had several of the larger breweries in the state. So we're glad to have brought back a certain amount of the history of and tradition of brewing back to Kansas. I think it's long overdue, and it seems to have been well received.
Well, you've had some openings and some closings in this area, and that occurrence has led Michael Jackson to say in a very recent article in the Celebrator that, well, brew pubs might be reaching their saturation point. But I disagree, because the saturation point has got to be beyond what it was before the 1900s. And that, if you look at it that way, the local breweries have a long way to go.
Well, in this area, when we first started out here, we were really busy when we started out. Things dropped off a little bit. It's been a matter of education, as it has, I think, most places in the country. People weren't really accustomed to this type of beer. The majority of people weren't, and it's been a matter of getting people sort of weaned off of sort of the lighter mass-produced beers and getting them interested in the more flavorful products. The saturation point is a hard one to call. Places keep opening, places keep closing, but I think as far as the number of concentrated breweries in this area, at this point, all of us that are still in business around here, I think seem to be doing a pretty good business. We're being well received, and I think there's probably still some room in the market for more. I've seen smaller areas that have more breweries, and it's a tough one to call. The difficulty that I see, if I can stand on my soapbox for just a minute, is that a lot of people that are starting to get into the brewing industry now, rather than being interested in brewing a quality product, reviving the traditions of small breweries and local breweries, a lot of them are people that they're trying to decide whether or not they should open a brewery because this is the new trendy thing to do, or should they buy a Jiffy Lube franchise. And personally, I'd rather that those people chose the Jiffy Lube franchise. The places that I think are staying in business and are being successful are the ones who want to make a quality product. They believe in what they're doing, they enjoy what they're doing, and those are the places that are going because they're interesting, they're different, they're not trying to market themselves to Budweiser's market. And there's nothing wrong with Budweiser's market, but we can't compete with them. They're too good at what they do and making that kind of product. We have to do something different. And that, I think, is where the health and longevity of this business is going to come.
Family places like in England, they're very much family places. They go as a family, and they're gathering places.
Exactly, exactly. And it takes, that, for one, takes a certain amount of the stigma away from drinking, whether it's beer, wine, or liquor. And there's a reason for that. It's not something that you're hiding. It's something that you go out to do to enjoy as part of being with other people, as part of being the community. And it's something that I think has been fading into the backside in the U.S., and it's starting to come out again. Where people find places like this is someplace that's enjoyable just to sit and have a good time with people, not just to go home and drink beer for the sake of drinking beer.
Well, great. Well, we're having a great time here, and we wish you continued success, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Drinkers in Kansas waited more than a century for the return of brewing, and brew pubs like this have made Kansas once again truly a free state.